One thing every celebrity has is a whole lot of money. It doesn't matter if you're a singer, actor, comedian, the more people like you, the more money you make. While it seems like a dream living the celebrity lifestyle, sometimes the journey to the top is a long, hard climb. Today we're counting down the top 10 celebrities you didn't know grew up in poverty. Did you know these celebrities grew up poor? Make sure to let me know which celeb's childhood surprised you the most and which celebs I missed in the comments below. At number 10, Cardi B. She rose to fame for her big personality and her even bigger talent as a rapper. If you're a fan of Cardi, you may already know some of the facts about her whirlwind time before fame, because she truly is not afraid to speak her mind. Now, she is one of the biggest rappers in the game, but growing up for Cardi was challenging to say the least. She grew up in the South Bronx, spending much of her time at her grandmother's house, which she credits her thick accent to. Cardi did not grow up with much and said that she was a with the at just 16, but made sure to discourage her fans from doing such a thing. During her teens, she was employed at an Amish deli, but upon being fired, she became a dancer at a strip club across the street. Although some people may have looked down on her for the career change, Cardi B said that becoming a stripper was positive for her life in many ways. She became a stripper to escape poverty and her violent relationship. Cardi B was kicked out of her mother's home, leading her to stay with her boyfriend at the time, who would mistreat the rapper. She has said that when she started dancing, she went back to school, and it was the only way she was able to earn enough money to escape her situation. She attended a community college in Manhattan for a while, telling her mom the money was from babysitting. In 2013, she began to gain publicity from her videos on Vine and Instagram. Cardi has a naturally big personality, so that makes her the perfect fit for a celeb. Now she only continues to grow her fan base with every new single. Number 9. Selena Gomez. She may have started out her career young, but before being on Barney, things weren't quite as smooth sailing. When Selena was born, her mother was just 16 years old. Her parents got married shortly after welcoming Gomez, but they divorced when she was 5. Due to her young age, Selena's mom struggled to provide for the two of them. The actor recalled her mother working 3 jobs in order to try and make ends meet. Gomez has said, "I remember my mom would run out of gas all the time, and we'd sit there and have to go through the car and get quarters to help her pay for gas." Gomez's mother has even shared that the two of them would often walk to their local dollar store to buy spaghetti for dinner. Gomez initially gained interest in pursuing a career in entertainment watching her mother, who was also into acting, prepare for stage productions. Luckily, Gomez found her passion young and was just 10 years old when she landed her spot on the children's show Barney and Friends alongside a young Demi Lovato. She portrayed the character Gianna and appeared in 13 episodes between 2002 and 2004. After Barney came a bit of a lull, landing a few small roles here and there. Gomez really took off when she starred in Disney Channel's Wizards of Waverly Place as Alex Russo for 4 seasons. From there, she embarked on the journey that is her acting career. Most recently, she was starring in Only Murders in the Building alongside legends Steve Martin and Martin Short. Number 8. Shania Twain. The country music singer has countless hits that are still being played over and over again today, like Man I Feel Like a Woman, That Don't Impress Me Much, and You're Still the One. Now, Twain is one of the most successful country singers ever, but growing up, things were tough for her. In her memoir, From This Moment On, Twain opened up about growing up with her stepfather Jerry Twain in Timmins, Ontario. She is one of 4 kids, and along with their mother, they suffered from Jerry. She said it was overwhelming for any child to never know what to expect from one day to the next. Jerry legally adopted Shania at age 4, and she recalled one incident of him plunging her mother's head in the toilet, leaving Shania to think her mother had drowned. Jerry's behavior at home would often stem from fights with her mother over their financial struggles. Twain once told ABC News about often going to school hungry, saying, "It's very hard to concentrate when your stomach's rumbling. I would certainly never have humiliated myself enough to reach out and ask for help and say, you know, I'm hungry. Can I have that apple you're not going to eat?" I didn't have the courage to do that. Shania eventually moved to Toronto, where she would work and sing in clubs, but in 1987 the struggles returned when her mother and Jerry passed away in a car accident. Twain returned home to take care of her younger siblings. Eventually she was able to have her break and be discovered, taking her career to Nashville. Since signing to a label, Twain hasn't looked back, releasing many successful albums and songs that are still played over and over today. At number 7, Tyler Perry. It's no secret that he's a comedy genius. His biggest claim to fame is probably his character Medea, with Perry appearing as her since 2005 across many films. Along with his on-screen work, he's also a very talented playwright and has even taken Medea to the stage. Perry grew up poor in New Orleans with 3 siblings. He once shared that his father's answer to everything was to quote, "out of you." As a child, the actor even took things as far as attempting to to escape his father's treatment. On the other hand, his mother took him to church weekly where he felt a certain refuge and contentment. When he was 16, Perry legally changed his name from Emmett to Tyler in an attempt to further distance himself from his father, who he was named after. Perry left home young and made his way to Atlanta. When talking about living in Atlanta, Perry said, "I came here with nothing, lived off Sylvan Road, ended up homeless and starving, but I was always praying and believing." Perry began writing scripts while selling cars and serving as a bill collector. He eventually saved up $12,000, which he ended up using to rent a space at a community theater in Atlanta to produce a work he'd written in his spare time. The play I Know I've Been Changed is a story that mirrors Perry's childhood struggles. It was hardly an overnight success, and at one point it was generating so little income that he was unable to pay rent and he lived in his car for 3 months. He worked out the kinks in his production until it began to gain some recognition. Perry designed the set, made the programs, hung lights, and even sold snacks at intermission. After touring the play relentlessly, it began to build a following. Eventually, Oprah caught the show in LA and in her words was changed by it. Winfrey invited Perry on her show in 2001, and after that he was set for life. His play did better than ever imagined, which led Perry to move into his iconic roles on the big screen. Number 6. Kelly Clarkson. The singer has talent for days, and ever since she's had the chance has blown us away with every performance. Clarkson grew up in Texas during the 80s and 90s, and her parents never had much to spare. She was raised Southern Baptist and her family was highly conservative, spending their Sundays and Wednesdays in church. She has shared they lived pre-paycheck to pre-paycheck. Clarkson also said, "I always used to hate when people would be like, money doesn't buy everything. Rich people say that, not poor people. I don't know one poor person that's going, money doesn't buy happiness. It pays you to get out of eviction notices." The first time someone discovered her vocal talent was when her school's choir teacher overheard her singing and encouraged her to audition for the choir. Throughout high school, she started vocal training in hopes of securing a college scholarship for music. She did end up receiving more than one scholarship, but turned them down. Instead, Clarkson worked several jobs to finance a demo, but she received little response. She kept working crappy jobs, confident that something good would come along. She eventually moved to LA to try to get her career going, but after more bad jobs being turned down by almost every label and a fire in her apartment, Clarkson had to return home. There she worked in a movie theater, promoted Red Bull, worked as a telemarketer, and a cocktail waitress. That's when her friends encouraged Clarkson to audition for the first season of American Idol. She said going in she had nothing to her name and even made the top she auditioned in. Clarkson went on to win the show, and the rest is history. Her iconic songs are still played again and again today, and she has her own show called The Kelly Clarkson Show. At number 5, Jennifer Lopez. The dancer, singer, and actress has proven that she's a multi-talented performer, and she's good. Before the fame and fortune, however, Lopez was living a lifestyle far from what she is today. You may have heard the song Jenny from the Block, in which she says, "Don't be fooled by the rocks that I've got, I'm still Jenny from the block. No matter where I go, I know where I came from." Lopez grew up in the Bronx, and there she shared a bed with her 2 other sisters. She said that growing up in the Bronx really shaped her because she grew up with not a lot, and her upbringing continues to drive her. Lopez has described her upbringing as strict, raised in a Roman Catholic family. She attended Mass every Sunday and received a Catholic education. During her school years, Lopez participated in track, gymnastics, softball, and musicals, landing a lead in their production of Godspell. Growing up in a Puerto Rican household, there was a lot of music, and Lopez and her sisters were encouraged to sing, dance, and create their own plays. After high school, she landed a part-time secretarial job at a law firm and began studying business for 1 semester. At 18, she enrolled as a full-time student at Manhattan's Philback Studio. In order to be full-time at dance school, she had to drop out of business school, which her parents did not like. This caused her mother to ask her to move out of the family home, and they stopped talking for 8 months. During this time, Lopez moved to Manhattan, sleeping in the dance studio's office for the first few months. Her struggles with money early on in her life did not stop her because eventually her talent was recognized, and Lopez was set on her way to becoming J-Lo. I bet now her parents couldn't be happier that she dropped out of college. At number 4, Leighton Meester. She played Blair Waldorf on Gossip Girl, a wealthy teen living in New York City. While Meester nailed the role, she definitely didn't pull inspiration from her own childhood. She was born in 1986, and at the time her mother Constance was in prison. Constance landed there after a 1983 arrest for helping her boyfriend at the time smuggle illegal substances out of Jamaica. Along with Meester's parents, her maternal aunt and grandfather were also involved. In fact, her aunt became the first woman on the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted wanted list after breaking out of prison. Since her mother still had 16 months left to serve after giving birth, Meester spent the first few months of her life at a halfway house before eventually being moved to her grandmother's house to await her mother's release. Meester has touched on her mother's past before saying, "My mom lived through a lot before I was born, and I can't judge her on that. She and my dad are good people." Upon her mother's release from prison, Meester's parents divorced and the family faced many financial struggles. Despite this, Meester insists that her childhood was not a bad one. She fondly remembers a lot of fun and love despite how much money they had. Luckily, she began booking modeling jobs at a young age and worked for places like The Limited 2 and Ralph Lauren. This allowed the family to relocate to New York to help her career even further, but living in such an expensive city was hard, struggling to pay bills and keep the basic necessities. The struggles she faced growing up only gave her more drive to become an actor. She poured herself into acting classes and work, causing her to not have much time for your typical teenage social life. She missed out on dating and even skipped her prom. Then at the age of 21, she landed her big role of the high schooler Blair Waldorf, so in a way she got to have the high school years she missed out on. Number 3. Oprah Winfrey. Everybody knows who Oprah is. You may not know much about her, but you've definitely heard that name. Now she's one of the most wealthy women in the industry with a net worth of approximately $2.5 billion, but growing up, she was far from it. Oprah was born in 1954 to young parents who didn't stay together and a home that had no running water. Oprah was initially raised on her grandmother's farm so her mother could move north, find a home, and secure work. Her grandmother encouraged her love of reading, but was also a hands-on disciplinarian. Oprah wrote about living with her grandma, explaining that she would be hit for the slightest reasons like spilled water, a broken glass, or the inability to keep quiet or still. Winfrey also recalled wearing clothes made from potato sacks, which only caused her to be made fun of. At 6, Oprah went to live with her mother in Milwaukee, where she was made to sleep on the porch. The years with her mother were probably the worst for Winfrey, experiencing horrifying trauma after trauma. As she recalled, at just 9 years old, she experienced at the hand of her 19-year-old cousin. As time went on, a family friend and an uncle would also join in and young girl. As Winfrey was unable to seek help or confide in anyone, she acted out and became rebellious. She described her behavior at the time as promiscuous, not understanding she could set boundaries over her body. As a result of this and not knowing the consequences of being sexually active, Oprah became pregnant at 14. This caused her mother to send her to a girls' detention home, but when they had no room available, Winfrey was sent to live with her father. This is what the young Oprah needed. She gave birth, but her baby boy didn't make it past a week, causing her father to encourage her to seize the moment and look at it as a second chance. She began participating in beauty pageants, which transitioned to being a news anchor, and with that she worked her way up to her own talk show and now an empire. Number 2. Dolly Parton. She has an amount of talent in her that some people dream of. With her voice, songwriting abilities, glamorous looks, and personality for days, it's no wonder Parton is as successful as she is. The singer was born in 1946 and she was the 4th of 12 children. They lived in a small mountain cabin with only a couple of rooms in Locust Ridge, Tennessee. Although her parents didn't have money, Parton grew up with lots of love and support from her parents and siblings. She once said in an interview, "We didn't have any money, but we were rich in things that money didn't buy, like love, kindness, and understanding." Dolly has said before they had running water when they would run and get it. They would take baths in the river during the summer months, using just a small pan of water in the winter to get clean. Dolly would share a bed with 3 or 4 of her siblings every night, and it would get so cold they would have to bundle up for bed. Her mother introduced Dolly to music, and both of her parents heavily encouraged her love for singing. Dolly and her family always knew she was going to make it big one day. When she first broke out, her mother was not surprised. She said, "Mama saw it in me." She thought, well, if anybody's gonna do what they say, it's gonna be her. Dolly has now been killing it in the entertainment industry for over 50 years with countless hits, appearances in movies, and even an amusement park. It's safe to say she achieved that little mountain girl's dreams. Parton, along with her brother Bobby and mother, created a replica of her childhood home that people can visit and see what it was like for little Dolly. And at number 1, Viola Davis. She's no doubt one of the greatest actors of her generation. With an Emmy, an Oscar, and 2 Tonys under her belt, she's the only black person that has achieved the Triple Crown in acting. It wasn't all smooth sailing for Davis though. She had to work hard to overcome and be seen as the talented actor she is today. Davis was born in 1965 in South Carolina. In her memoir Finding Me, she opens up about her childhood. Not only was Davis lacking money as a child, she was also facing horrific racism. She was born the 5th of 6 children on a plantation in deep poverty. Her family relocated to Rhode Island and they lived in a rundown home where they were frequently without electricity, gas, hot water, or a phone. The lack of money plus the freezing temperatures meant that the laundry would often go unwashed for weeks. Davis wrote that compounded with the bedwetting made for the home to have a horrific smell. To top things off, her home was infested with rats, so bad they would eat the faces off her dolls. During a 2014 Variety's Power of Women speech, the actor said, "Although my childhood was filled with many happy memories, it was also spent in abject poverty. I was one of the 17 million kids in this country who didn't know where their next meal was coming from, and I did everything to get food. I've stolen food, I've jumped in huge garbage bins with maggots for food, I'd befriended people in the neighborhood who I knew had mothers who cooked 3 meals a day for food, and I sacrificed a childhood for food and grew up in immense shame." Luckily, Davis took acting classes as a teen and found hope in Cicely Tyson. Now, Davis continues to outdo herself with every role she lands as one of the most talented actors ever. That was a top 10 celebrities you didn't know grew up in poverty. I've been your host, Maddie, and I will catch you next time for another top 10 countdown.